Hi and welcome back to my channel, friends. I'm so glad you're here. Happy holidays to everyone. So for this video, I wanted to use my joy of using mica powders on the Gelli plate. So I'm using a couple of supplies here. This is just a stamp set from my stash, and then I have this stencil that I got from Hobby Lobby. I'm doing a little test in this video to see. These are some mica powders I got from Michael's, the Recollection collection here. Just gonna see if those work like the mica powders. Then I'm gonna clean my Gelli plate so I have a nice, good, sticky background to apply those powders to. It definitely helps and it makes a big difference if your plate is completely clean before doing the powders. It can still work out without the oil, the baby oil on it, but it doesn't work as well. I do find it does a much better job when you do the baby oil. So I'm just taping off these edges because they have some pieces that I don't want the exposed Gelli plate to pick up. Next I'm going to take my powders and figure out what colors I'm going to use. I'm going to apply them with these little makeup brushes. I found these don't shed like the other paint brushes I've used do, so that's why I like using these. I like this little one because you can get into the little details a little bit easier. There's even a thinner one, but I didn't use that on this one. If you're having a hard time with getting small details, it's like a really thin looking one. If you have these packs of these makeup brushes, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. So this powder is very static. I'm noticing it picks right up. I just kind of touch the brush inside my little powder and it just kind of sticks to it, like a very staticky. It's like sticking up hairs. So I'm going to just kind of go through this pretty quickly. There's a lot to cover in this video, so I'm going to kind of speed up what I'm doing. But basically, I'm starting with my pink color on this little ornament up here on the top left. It looks like peppermint to me, so I'm kind of doing a pink and white stripe for that one. So doing the pink on every other little spoke. So just kind of going through each of these ornaments to see, where I want the pink and what next color I want to apply. So I like this gold color. I wanted to use this to bring out all these little caps of my ornaments, and I'm gonna do that on all of those. And then there's just little details in each of the ornaments that I'll use the gold for as well, just to kind of tie them all together. Now you'll notice as I'm going through these, the powders, they don't show through very vividly. So when you're looking at it directly, you can kind of see where these powders are, but they're not quite as vibrant as using the perfect pearls. So I started noticing that as I was doing this. So I knew at this point I wanted to create a second version of this using the perfect pearls so that I can show you how they line up and stand up to each other. Next, I'm using this white to kind of be like it's like a snowy white glitter color. This one I'm going to use to create all my little white pieces. A lot of my snowflakes I used with this color, and then I'm kind of incorporating it into some of my ornaments. And last I have this, it's kind of like a minty green color, almost a bluish green. I'm going to use that to fill in all the blank spaces. So I've got 4 colors I've used: the pink, the gold, the white, and the minty green. Next I'm using these 2 colors. It's a sea foam and a white, and they're both matte colors from Delta, and they are hopefully going to offset the sparkle from the ornaments. I'm putting a nice even coat of this paint on the back of this gel print, and I'm going to use 110 pound cardstock. My idea was this is going to be for my card base, so I wanted to use a thicker cardstock. As I was pulling it up, my paper was starting to curl, as it does happen when you reveal a gel print. So I flipped my jelly plate over. I'm still getting the hang of this technique, but basically if I pull up from one side and then pull up from the other and roll it into itself and kind of pull it up in the middle, my paper doesn't warp as badly. It stays a little more flat. So this is the very light, very soft pastel-y almost coloring of those powders. They don't stand out very much, so here's my test to see using the same colors in the Perfect Pearls. I'm starting with my pink, and I'm going to kind of go in the same color patterns. So each of the ornaments, where I had put the coloring on that first time, I'm going to do that with the Perfect Pearls and just kind of go through pretty quickly here and just, so you can see the different colors and where I'm putting most of those colors on these ornaments. The pearl powder, it does stand out a lot better on the plate as I'm working, so I can definitely see where I've put the powders. It doesn't fade into the background as much as that other powder did. This green color is the closest I could get to that minty color that was in the other set. And then all that's left, and I do clean my brush in between my powders, the different colors. All that's left is to use my white Perfect Pearl color, and that will tie everything together. So once I'm done applying all of my colors, I'm taking my rag and I'm just wiping off any of those extra pearl powders. I would say take your time with this part. I probably should have done another pass through. Anytime those powders are left on the surface, they do kind of blend or smear when you put the paint part on it. For this next step, I did add green before I added my paint, just in some of those ornaments, because they looked like they could use a little bit of that green, and I didn't have that color anywhere on those ornaments originally. So I did add the green behind it before I added my paint. Again, I'm going with a nice thin coat of paint here. You can see the design through my paint. I'm using 110-pound white cardstock again to pull this print. And I'm going to use the same technique pulling up this print from the jelly plate. I did add a little more white to this one. And this is what the pearls look like. You can already tell they're a lot more vibrant. So here's a side-by-side comparison of the pearls versus the Recollection Mica Powders. It is a big difference, especially in person. This one is so hard to see. I like these powders. They're really, really pretty on their own, but when you compare them to the pearls, there's almost no comparison with how vibrant they are. This last one that I'm doing real quick is my envelope piece. I added some glitter and then I rolled it out. Basically, I went through the same steps of applying the Perfect Pearls, but this time I'm using a 24-pound copy paper because it's much easier to fold copy paper into an envelope than it is cardstock. So I'm going to remove that. Now I will say the glitter didn't really adhere to my paper very well. There's a few spots, most of those fell off, but it wasn't all lost because I got the roll off piece, the part where I rolled out my brayer, that left a really nice kind of glittery background, and I decided I was going to use that in my card base. So let's get to work making the card. I'm going to start with the pearl powder background 110 pound cardstock piece that I made, and I'm going to cut out all of these ornaments. Once they're all cut out, I folded down my card base from an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. I cut it down to 4 inches by 11, and then I scored 3 inches in on each side, and that gave me this tri-fold card. Next, I'm going to take that piece where I rolled off my brayer, and I'm just trying to figure out where I want to transfer that paper onto my card base. Just going to use a pencil and do a light outline of where my card base goes. And I know I'm going to have matching sides, so then the other side is going to be the side that matches up against it. Then I just cut that out. I have this rubbery eraser. This works really great to remove pencil marks, so that's what I'm going to use to clean up all these pencil marks left behind. Then I'm putting it back onto that same piece of paper in a different area, cutting it down, using it as a template, and splitting it. So I'm going to have 4 of the same size pieces, and that's going to be the 2 outside pieces of my card and the 2 inside pieces of my card. So these 2 go together, and then the 2 outer ones go together. And now I'm just figuring out how I want them to lay on my card base before I adhere them. I like this ombre, kind of darker, that leads into lighter, so I'm going to go with that. I'm just using some wet glue to apply these. This is, again, this is actually a 24 pound. That's what I use to clean my brayer, is just a 24 pound piece of copy paper. So this one's a pretty light piece of paper, and it goes and adheres to this card base pretty easily. And once both of those sides are down, I'm just going to use my scissors to trim any pieces that are sticking out. Then I'll adhere the inside pieces in the same way. Now I'm just figuring out where I would like my ornaments to be on the background. I'm going to have the middle one hang over the edge just a little bit for some added interest. Then I'm going to use this Peace and Joy stamp. I'm going to add that to my middle ornament. I'm using this eraser to help me get better pressure, but this stamp did have some missing parts, and I had to just fill in those letters with a black marker. This is a really old set from Michael's from years ago, but I love this set. It's still so cute, even though not all of the stamps work the same anymore. This one is from that same little stamp set, and it says Home for Christmas. Then I'm just going to pop up these ornaments with some foam tape and adhere all of those to my background. I do end up using all of the ornaments that I had cut out of this background paper. So on the inside you can see there's a half of a circle hanging out, so I took another ornament that was a circle shape, and that one I'm just going to glue flat against the other one. And then I cut out this little snowflake piece, and I'm just gluing that into the center of that snowflake, but just offsetting it. I'm going to adhere all of my little ornaments, the rest of them. One of them I do cut in half, well, not in half, but I cut it apart so that it fits on the top right corner, and then the other top part fits on the bottom left corner. I do have foam squares on the back of all of these ornaments. The only one I didn't use the foam squares on is the one with the snowflake. So it's coming together, but it does need a little something. I have this baker's twine in silver and white. I believe I got this at Michael's from a few years ago during the holidays. So they may be selling this now, but the little bow ties, I just made very simple little bows or ribbons, and then those I'm going to adhere onto the ornament part, and then I'm going to use the string part to dangle them from the top, like they're hanging from the top. And then I'll just keep adding the bows and the little string pieces to all of the ornaments. And this is what it is looking like, the card. And then we're going to make a matching envelope. So now I'm going to be using the 24-pound copy paper version of the Perfect Pearl jelly print that I made. I'm just folding it around my card base. And this is going to make sure that I have just the right size envelope to fit my card, since it's not a traditional size. Here I'm just checking to make sure I'm working on the correct orientation. It will be backwards in the back, but the ornaments should be facing up in the front of the envelope. Next, I'm just going to fold the sides in. I am leaving a little bit of wiggle room so that the card isn't too snug in there. And because it does have a lot of dimension, I do want to leave a little bit of room. For this part, I don't typically draw out my lines, but I just wanted to do this in case you're wondering how I'm cutting these pieces out. I cut out all 4 corners, but I do a little bit of an angle. And I'm just using a pencil to help you, and a ruler to help you see how I cut these little corner pieces out. And once you have this first one cut out, you can kind of use that as a template for your next 3 sides. So once all of my sides are cut out, I cut out all of the white pieces that were on the edges of my little envelope pieces. The top piece, the one that's going to fold over, I decided I wanted to use decorative edge scissors. So I have this little scallop scissor that I'm going to use to cut that piece off. And this just makes a fun little detail. Then I'll glue my envelope closed for the sides. And it's coming along. So I have this set with my card and my envelope, but I did want to add one more thing to put this all together, and that was a matching wax seal. The way I made it a matching wax seal is I used the pink pearl powder in my white wax seals as they were melting down to create the same pink color. I did have to add a little more pearl powder. Once all of those little wax melts were melted, I put it on top of this snowflake piece that I'd cut out, but it didn't fit. I had too many of my little wax seals that I used, so if I were to do this again, I would use one less wax seal and then the snowflake would probably show through a little bit better. I do put a little seal, like a double-sided sticky seal that came with my wax seal kit, on the back of my wax seal so that when I'm ready to send the envelope, then I can seal it. So I'm just showing you here that the card fits perfectly inside the envelope. And once it's sealed here and I'm ready to mail this, I will take the sticker off of the back side of my seal, and that's how I'll close it. If you've seen my other videos, you know that I like to send my envelopes out in a plastic cello bag that seals, and that's how I can make sure my envelopes don't get ruined while they're being mailed out. So I'll link those below if you're interested in any of the other supplies that I've used. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you're having a great holiday season. Thanks for checking in. Be sure to subscribe and like, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy crafting!